All right, guys, welcome to the Odd Couple Costa Rica podcast. We're going to be talking about working. We're going to be talking, can you work in Costa Rica? If you can, how can you? Is there hoops you have to jump through? Do people work under the table here? How's that even work? What are some of your options? Do you have any? Or what is it? We're going to be hitting all that and more. I'm Michael Allen for TravelCostaRicaNow.com. And
I'm Alan Richard from Off the Grid Homestead. And boy, this is going to be interesting. And yes, we will have our Q&A right afterwards in case we don't get a hold of your question. Because, some people get deported because they were working illegally in Costa Rica. Could that happen to you? What do you think, Mike? How was your week, man?
Well, we're going to get into it. I got to tell you, Alan, you're a slave driver when it comes to this relocation retreat coming up next week. I've been hitting it every day. I got a new presentation. I got to do an hour, and I think I have it, but I've been tweaking and writing and moving things around and making sure things are going to go right, and I'm still not done. So I probably got another, I would say, 3 days to get it right. So I bet that's been the only thing on my mind this last week and what I've been working on. So, yeah. What about you?
Well, I've been trying really hard to kind of get into the tiny house before going to the event. But hey, every time I turn around, it's something else I got to do. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to, so and like you, my mind is on nothing but the retreat. So yesterday I just decided, okay, I'm done with the house until I get back. So I know that the house, I just can't move in for probably 2 or 3 more weeks. And so, like you, I've got to, of course, I got to review my presentation. And then we've got a new speaker. Now, I'm really excited. I'm really excited that I got you talking culture, man. That's going to be one of the best presentations. And then we've got Mr. X, who's going to be diving into the Tico mind. Hey, I'm excited. So, yeah, like you, this week, my mind is on nothing but the event. And we got a packed house. I'm excited for it.
Well, it's such a great time because for me personally, it's kind of vacation too. And then I get to meet the people I love meeting people and hanging out. We're down at a beautiful place. We have great food. Everything is fun. So that whole matter of fact, I'm going down a day early, to probably tweak my presentation again or something, but we'll see. I don't know. I know it's probably going to be frustrating with your house because that's almost, you got to say pura vida, it's like, what the hell?
Everything just takes longer, and of course, hey, living remotely doesn't help. But hey, I like it. And so, I have really gotten to this place in my life that I can't wait to get in there, but you know what? I can only do what I can do. So if it happens tomorrow, if it happens next year, I will eventually get in there.
That's right. Eventually, right? Well, you know what? There's some misconceptions about working in Costa Rica, and there's some things that are true and things that aren't true, which always makes living in Costa Rica an adventure. But let's start out. I think we should probably start out with, like, how does Costa Rica promote themselves or the facts of working in Costa Rica? So, Alan, I'll just start with you. There's basically legally 2 ways you can work in Costa Rica, according to, let's say, the government here. What are they?
Well, basically, there's only 2 ways that you can legally work. First, okay, in order to legally work, you have to either be a permanent resident, okay, and just real quick, to be a permanent resident, that could take a long time, okay, because you have to first be a temporary resident for 2 years. That expires, and then you apply for another 2 years. But in year number 3, you can finally apply to be a permanent resident. But then how long does it take to actually become a permanent resident? And you can be a citizen, okay? So once you become a citizen, you can work, okay? Now, that's 2 ways as far as residency or citizenship. And there is one other way, and that's called a special category work permit. And so I think I answered your question, but I don't know if I answered it the way you
no, that's good. But again, it's funny because permanent residency does take a while. So it's not like you people go, hey, I'm going to go work down in Costa Rica. You can think like that, and after we get done this whole thing, maybe people will still think like that. But legally speaking, you are totally correct. And let's hit on work permits a little bit too, because that's almost a misnomer. It almost sounds like, oh, okay, Michael, now, so you say I need to get a work permit. Okay, where do I pick that up at? Is there a line? How long does that take? I'll just go get my work permit, and I'll show my work permit to all these employees and send out my resume, and we should be good to go.
Hey, sounds easy to me.
Is that how it goes? Is that how it goes?
Not at all. So,
I'm depressed. Are you saying what? What?
Yeah, see,
Alan.
the gist of it is the burden of your employer to actually get that work permit for you. Okay. Now, the reason it's the employer's burden. So, in other words, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go and apply to, let's just make it simple. I'm going to go and apply to be a cashier or a stocker over at the local grocery store. Okay. And so if that guy wanted to hire you, he would actually have to get a work permit for you, which typically could take 8 months or longer to get that work permit. But he has to prove that there was no Ticos in the area that has your set of skills to work the cash register, to put up stock. So obviously, a special category work permit means that you have special skills. Here's one example of that to make it real simple for you. When I was living over in the Rivas area, my neighbor, who was an American, I think he was actually from Louisiana. Anyway, Rob was a chiropractor. Well, in the San Isidro area, there were no chiropractors anywhere around. And so he was able to get a special work permit, which only lasts for 1 year, and was able to work in Costa Rica, open up a shop as a chiropractor, because there simply were nobody with that skill set there.
Yeah, but the thing about the work permit is the person that wants to hire you really has to want to hire you. And most not menial, but just mediocre, let's say working in a coffee shop like I did, nobody's going to jump through all those hoops to get me a work permit. Now, where the work permits usually come into play here is big when the big corporations, and mostly to do with the internet, like Dell, like Dell's here. If they want people, they can get work permits, but that's a whole different thing. And I'm sure they got a bunch of different rules because Dell came down here. Hey, Costa Rica, we're coming down there. We're going to bring in some money, but there's a few people we want. We're going to pick up some of your people because you have some cheap labor, but we're going to also bring our people, and they will get the work permits, and they will get those with no problem. So now you have a corporation backing you to get a work permit, and you're good. But just to come down here and go, hey, I want to be a bartender, and we get along. Can you help me get a work permit? That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's very difficult to get. It sounds good when you say it. I had one person, I don't know where this came from, a couple of years ago, said, I can't remember the situation. I got a work permit easy.
Nah, I don't know about that.
I heard that once, and I was like, whatever, I don't know. But
yeah, in most cases, the people that are getting the work permit, it's people like Walmart, like Dell, like Amazon. And what they're doing is that they're having to get that work permit to bring in that trained professional that's managing those people, because Amazon, Dell, those people are coming so that they can hire this humongous workforce of cheap labor in Costa Rica. And those work permits are for that manager, that supervisor. That's what that work permit is really created for.
Yeah, and I would say, you can't obviously work down here unless there's nobody to do the job, we'll say. So I would say probably doctors with specialties could find their way of working in here if they had a really specialized practice, or maybe they're a top cardiologist or something. I'm sure Costa Rica would find a way to get them out there. But for the people that, hey, I just want to live in Costa Rica, I just want to do this little job, work as a bartender and this kind of thing, it's not going to happen. Real quick, because I think I saw it over there. Yes, you do not have to be a resident to own a business. So you could own a business. You could buy a bar. You could buy a coffee restaurant or anything else. You can have a business, but you can't work the business. That's the legal stance on that. So you have to hire everybody to do the jobs that you have in your business, and you can manage those jobs, but you can't work
Right.
them. So that's how that's legally supposed to go.
Right. So that's kind of what they were saying. You can own a coffee shop, but you cannot function as a barista. So, but the only thing you can do is, like Michael was saying, is manage it. But typically, okay, it's kind of like, okay, and you're really just doing nothing more than supervising, and you're doing the time schedule for you come to work at this time, and here's your payroll. Okay. And some say even you're not even hardly supposed to do that much of it, but hey, you are able to manage it because it's your business and you have to be able to manage it in some way.
Yeah, but let's be real. If you come down here and build a bill, I've seen this so many times, it's ridiculous. Hey, Michael, I want to start a little local bar. Okay, fine. I want to have a little soda. I want to sell pizzas. I've seen all these. And so they start the business. They have literally no awareness of how to work with TICOs. They have no awareness of TICO's rights when you hire this worker. They don't know about you have to pay double in December. They don't know much of almost anything. I don't even know what they're thinking half the time. Yes, they have the money for the business, but they don't know how to manage. They don't know the culture enough to kind of know how to handle a TICO employee. But guess what? TICO employees know all their rights, all of them. And if you don't do your shit right, they will own your business literally and figuratively. So I've seen that. I can't tell you how many times. So yes, I can have a business. Great, Mike. Woo, 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 woo. So you got to hire people. Now, you better know what the hell you're doing. You better speak some Spanish. You better have some people, at least if you don't do it, you better have a TICO friend that you super, super trust, maybe managing the employees or something. But if you're going to come here and do it yourself, trust me, you're probably not going to last very long. Even if the business itself is a decent concept and a good location and all that, you better know what you're doing.
You better know what you're doing because, I work one-on-one with, quite a number of TICOs. Okay. Now, my business, I supervise the job. Okay. That's all I'm doing is supervising. I am stinking hiring TICOs that I am paying $50 an hour. Okay. So these are people that's running equipment, backhoes, dozers. Okay. And so you better know what you're doing. Because if you don't, they are going to rip you off. Okay. So, and now these people are getting paid big money because they have their own equipment, right? But let's go back to what this guy is saying with Northern High. Not sure why anyone would want to work for the wage that most Costa Ricans make. So, Mike, let's talk about that real quick because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. I know from living in Costa Rica for 10 years, I know what the minimum wage is. Okay. So, hey, these people that are typically, working in the grocery store, stocking shelves, cashiers, what is
restaurants, bars, the service industry jobs, man, the hotel receptionist, the tour, all that kind of stuff. Usually the wage for those people is anywhere from 600 to 1,000, 1,200, the most.
Yeah, see, most of those people in the grocery stores, right? The service industry, like it, most of them, they'll start off at about 500 to about 700. And really, they're not going any further than that. A good job, if you're considered making good money, if you're making at least $1,000 a month, okay? $1,000. Now, teachers, and you find a lot of people who become teachers, and they become teachers because you can just about start off at a teacher's salary at $1,000 a month up to $2,000, once you work your way up the ladder there. So, there's most people, doctors included, they're not making a huge salary in Costa Rica.
Well, a lot of them are working for the government. I just want to go back real quick. We were talking about the employees. If you buy a business, just real quick on this, if you are going to have like somebody coming to your house twice a week, hiring as like a yard care person, you also got to know what the hell you're doing with that too, and maybe make a contract work with them so everything is above board. Because again, they know the rights and they know what. Now they could come back on you and say, hey, I've been working for Alan for the last year, cutting his grass, and he owes me this, this, and this because he just paid me. So you got to be careful of that. And so, we have a lawyer. Alan has a lawyer. I think we use the same person that can help with those kind of business lawyering, questions you have. Because, again, if you're starting something or doing something or hiring a Tico, you better know what you're doing. We'll go back to the working, but I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah. Now, and back up a little bit, because the average Tico, average unskilled, not skilled, average unskilled Tico, when I'm hiring an average unskilled Tico to do whatever, most cases they're getting paid 1,500 colonas an hour. That's $3 an hour. 1,500 colonas an hour. Okay. So that dude is going to work. Yeah, that dude's going to work all day. Now, typically, just so that you know, if you have a business, you hire someone, an 8-hour day, anything over 8 hours is considered overtime. Anything over 48 hours, because in the United States, we're spoiled. We only work 40 hours a week, but in Costa Rica, it's 48 hours because they're used to working 6 days a week, and it's not overtime until over 48.
I hate to muddy the waters, Alan, but that's what I do. I would say on menial jobs, you might be better off hiring a Nicaraguan.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm just saying, I don't want to, Ticos are kind of like, a lot of times Ticos are like the people in the States. They're not going to do the job, so they're going to hire a Mexican. I don't mean that in a rude, mean way. I'm just saying there's a lot of jobs that, Ticos don't want to do. So when you're driving down the freeway, and you're looking over at farmland or papaya plantations or bananas or whatever, and you see people working in the field, those are not Ticos. Those are Nicaraguans, always.
Most of them.
Always.
Yeah. So keep in mind, well, like you said, hire a Nicaraguan, but that's still illegal. You can't legally hire a Nicaraguan.
Well, they've actually changed a couple of rules. We don't have to get into that, but they've changed a couple of rules for the immigration stuff. But anyway, they do the same thing. There's a lot of jobs they don't want to do. Like, they don't want to weed. If you have a jungly landscape, they don't like weeding. Who likes weeding? Nobody likes weeding. So usually that's a Nicaraguan's going to do the job. I'm sorry, but that's how it goes here. So just so we're
yeah. So in general, don't think you're coming to Costa Rica and you're going to get a job. But Mike, what ways can I work in Costa Rica?
Well, I just want to tell a quick story just because it applied back when I was here. This whole who can work and who can't and having a work permit has been around forever. So when I got here, I lived above a coffee shop. And the guy, come to find out, I've done a couple of videos with him, great videos, by the way, Matthias, owned a coffee shop, and he went to college in Buffalo. So he has the best English of anybody I ever knew. He knew slang, nuances to words, everything. And he was a great communicator. He owned a coffee plantation, but he had his little shop in La Fortuna because that's where the tourists are. We hit it up. He kind of saw that he taught me the business. And I would just come down from my apartment, work for him, totally under the table. And he would just give me commission because we had a lot of kid groups come in. And these rich kids would buy his coffee and we'd present a whole thing. And, so I got commissions and stuff. So, and we had a thing. So because they did check, people did come around and check if the people working in any established bar, restaurant, store were legal. So he said, if anybody ever comes in, just say you're holding down the fort for me for a second, or I'll be back, or you're just a volunteer. That was the big thing that everybody used to. That was like the hack of that. Oh, I'm just volunteering my services. So I'm just saying, so that was kind of how we got by. And I worked for him, I think, off and on for a couple of years at least, because we didn't have any money. I had to scrape up some money, but that's how I did it. Now, obviously, with the internet, everyone knows, Digital Nomad or coming down here. There's property management, there's house sitting, there's, all kind of under the table. There's bartering. You're bartering for for your rent. Maybe you put together websites, and you're going to help me put up the website, and we're going to be working together for a few months, and I let you stay at my rental for free, and I'll give you a stipend of food or whatever. So there's all kinds of little ways to get down here and work if you want. Now, again, at the caveat, you're doing it at your own risk. I'm not saying do any of these things. I'm just saying that's the reality here a little bit. So
that, you're absolutely right. That does happen. Keep in mind, even though he's saying, yeah, you can do those kind of things, it's still illegal. Whether you're bartering, so you can say you're volunteering, but if they can prove that you're not really volunteering, that he paid you in monkeys, apples, chickens, it doesn't matter how he pays you, you're still getting paid, and so it's illegal. But yes, it does happen here.
And he's in trouble, he's in trouble as much as I am if those people get caught, because it was happening a little more when I first got here, because I knew people that I knew a friend of mine was a bartender, a real good looking woman. And so they hired her because she was bringing people in, a lot of Ticos would come in and they totally paid her under the table. So it was a little easier to do before, but now with the onset of what they call the VAT here, or these factors, the receipts of, you have to show all your payments, receipts, where that money came in, how did it go back out. And so it's not always effective that somebody can hire somebody even under the table in a lot of instances, because of, it's hard. I don't want to get into factoras and in taxes and stuff. But just trust me, they changed the laws here, and now it's a little bit more difficult to do some of those things.
So the important thing to know is that if you do get caught working illegally in Costa Rica, what are the consequences?
Oh, bye.
They will deport your butt real quick.
Yes, bye. You're gone. Yes. So, again, go at your own risk. But the things like property management, house sitting, because usually you made a connection with somebody, another gringo, and he doesn't want to run his little operation. Maybe he's got 5 Airbnbs, and you're just going to sit out. You're just going to take reservations on the internet, and you got maybe a little Tico helping you that checks them in and stuff. I mean, there's ways around all that if you just want, but that's experience in Costa Rica, but I'm not sure how long you could sustain that way of like making a life in Costa Rica. You could come down here and do these things. You could house it for 6 months, but okay, that's great. Now what,
Yeah. So the reality is this, you can come and house it, but you're still going to have to need some money. You're going to run out of savings. So you can legally come into the country and you can work online. And a lot of people say, yeah, but you got to have a special skill. Well, we actually have an expert that's going to be talking at the relocation retreat this time, and did last time, about many different ways that you can legally work online and make money. And one of the most common and popular things is that people they work online, or actually what they're doing is that they're teaching English. A lot of people actually teach English online, and whether they're teaching to Chinese people or whomever, it really doesn't matter, but they're making their money online by teaching English. I do the majority of the money I make from working online from my online businesses, and you can do that. But technically, if you work online as a digital nomad, you're supposed to generate your money. None of your digital nomad money should be generated from Costa Rica. If you generate any money from Costa Rica, you're supposed to pay taxes on that. So my online business, the money I make, it comes from people obviously all over the world, but I don't think I got a single Tico customer.
My neighbor and friend that stayed in my Tico house, I rented to her for like a year and a half, did teach English to Chinese, and she made $25 an hour. Now you do the math. Now you had to have your bachelor's for that. It didn't matter what your bachelor's was in, but you needed a bachelor's to get that job with that teaching English. But $25 an hour, pretty good here.
That could add up pretty quick. I mean, stop and think about that. $25 an hour, and you work 4 hours a day. That's $100 a day, and you only work 5 days. You're making more money than the majority of the Ticos.
Oh yeah, for sure. And a lot of people do that, but now again, you had to have your bachelor's for that. So I just think a lot of people, Alan, don't know their options. they don't know how they can fit what they do into working down here. And like the person that does this at the relocation retreat, you know, you can find, if you can find what you're good at, there's probably a way to make money on the internet that you just aren't thinking of. It's not all teaching English. It's not all this or that. There's all, you know, if you're a good writer, you learn how to edit science papers, dental paper. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do if you look around and you got this, you know, the skill set. So I don't know.
Yeah, you'd really be amazed because, you know, I've been doing this whole online thing since 2006. Okay. And look, there are so many different ways to make money. Now, yes, for most of them, there is a learning curve. But if you know how to do something, then and you know, for example, Rebecca's really great with Excel spreadsheets, man. I mean, she can work magic on them. Well, there's all kind of sites where she can actually pick up little jobs here and there, or she could actually create Excel spreadsheets and sell them because the formula is already in them. There's a lot of different things that you can do to easily make money online, from having your own shop, you know, as far as a store, selling stuff at Amazon, Etsy, Shopify, all kind of different ways to actually make money online. But a lot of that does require a bit of a learning curve unless you already are excellent in underwater basket weaving and you're selling those.
Well, that's interesting. You brought up Rebecca and Excel sheets. So as I got my new business and my new bank accounts, and we all know the 6 months of hell I went through with that, you know, you got to keep your spreadsheets right. You got to show your money coming in, going out, factura numbers, all kinds of stuff. And it was overwhelming for me, you know, in the beginning, because I'm answering a million emails. I'm trying to make videos. I'm trying to do this and do that. I literally I had to get some help on that. I had to get some help, and I did hire basically somebody to get those together for me, because it can get. I mean, I'm when you're selling a bunch of travel packages, you got factors coming in from everywhere. You got to keep up all the dates and, you know, where this thing is going, and then they were sending all the factors were wrong because I changed. I got rid of one business, which is another act of Congress, dude. I don't know if you know that, Alan. If you get rid of a business here, it costs just as much as you starting a business here. So I started a new business to get rid of all this other old stuff, but all these vendors that I was using, hotel vendors and tour vendors, were sending facturas using my old business thing. So I got factors coming in left and right, wrong business names. Oh, and then they put the names of the people on there. I'm getting them all mixed up, and I'm getting behind, and I'm like, oh my God, I need help. So I got help. So again, another way to, you know, okay, go ahead. That's it.
Well, take a look at what Doug said. He says, I know an electrician from the States that works in the Nicoya Peninsula. He runs a two-man show by hiring one Tico worker that does the grunt work. He does the rest. Now, as long as he is a resident, he can do, or a permanent resident, he's legally can do that. See, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you are a permanent resident, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit gray, and I don't mind saying I don't know. Okay, so once you become a permanent resident, yes, you can work. But does that mean that you could go down to the local bar, or you can go down to the grocery store, and then you can apply to become a cashier or a stocker? I don't know. Because Costa Rica is just very adamant about an expat not taking a Tico job.
I know, but dude, I'm gonna, you know, I've been going cart before the horse for 15 years. So I mean, to me, I always told people, you know, if you have any skill with, you know, let's say construction, maintenance work, with, you know, plumbing and electrical work, you could come down here and definitely work if you wanted to, because you could just get your name out with gringos. You could definitely fly under the radar for as long as you wanted. And I'm not telling anybody to do this thing, because you're at your own risk. But if I was an electrician, I would probably do the same thing. I would start a business, Mike's Electrician, and there's no really way, as long as I'm legit, and there's really no way anybody can check on that, because, okay, you've got a Tico you're going to use, and you just, I mean, it's pretty easy. You know, again, Costa Rica is kind of known for making a lot of laws that they can't enforce due to maybe they don't have enough people to check or whatever the heck it is. Dude, I'm not a permanent resident. I have a business bank account.
Well, and
I work a business.
Here's what's interesting. While you technically are not supposed to work in Costa Rica, if you generate income, they want you to pay taxes on it. And it's like, wait a minute, not a permanent resident. I generated income in Costa Rica and you want me to pay taxes on it. Wait a minute. How is it I can even have that kind of an account if I'm not supposed to work? As long as you pay taxes, we won't say nothing about it.
Yeah, and I do. You know, I pay. I tell you what, dude. I tell you what. It's quite a bit of taxes. It's quite a bit, man.
Right.
There's a lot of nickel and dime going on. I haven't even paid myself yet on my travel business part because of that reason. So, but I'm just saying is I'm not a permanent resident. The people that work for me, actually one is a permanent resident, and they're all legit. Everybody's legit. Everybody pays the factors. Everything is, they're paying taxes. I'm paying taxes. I'm generating quite a bit of money to, you know, Costa Rica, actually. So I'm sure they're fine with me. I know they are.
Costa Rica has made a way because, like, hey, I'm not even a temporary resident. Now, I was a digital nomad and that expired and it wasn't worth redoing. But hey, I generated some money in Costa Rica and I had to send out a factura and I have to pay taxes on it. And so I had to discover all that. Well, guess what? Costa Rica, as long as I'm paying taxes, they were happy to give me an account, do all that. And that's one other thing. If you have a business in Costa Rica, you're practically going to have to hire a Costa Rican accountant because the rules are so crazy. You're going to need a public accountant to help you with all of that.
Oh, I got one. I have that too, man. The whole business thing, man, has been a real eye-opening experience with opening the bank account and getting all these people in line, getting my spreadsheets still aren't right where they need to be. I'm getting help with that. But, it's a tough thing. And I've been here a long time and it's, and you got to jump through a lot of hoops, but it's not just so we're clear. They do the same thing to the Ticos. It's not a gringo thing.
No,
they really do. I know I'm jumping through hoops, and I used to think, I think I've mentioned this before, I used to think, oh, they're just, I don't know, and they're just throwing out rules because I'm a gringo and whatever. No, they do it to everybody.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I got a really good buddy, and he owns a couple of restaurants, and he's like, Costa Rica just makes it very, very difficult for business owners. But hey, with that said, I think we need to go back and re-examine that Mike's Electrical Service, where sparks fly. I think you should do that. Mike's Electrical Service, where sparks fly.
Yeah. Sparks would be flying, I'm sure. I don't know. My thing with Costa Rica, and the way I live my life here, I try very hard to just kind of keep my head down. I am totally legit and I do pay taxes, but I try not to make waves that way. I try to just do what I got to do. In other words, I wouldn't want a big bar and restaurant and managing, 20 employees. That's like going back to the States and work. That's just
What's the point, right? I mean, when I was in the United States, I had a large convenience store. I paid a lot of employees. I'm telling you, I loved it. There was nothing better. I loved having my grocery store. Okay. However, after I closed that and I started working online, I was like, man, it was night and day difference because it was like, wait a minute. I got a store and all the hassles. Are they coming in, not coming in? Are they stealing money, not stealing money? I'm working online and I'm not stealing money from myself. I didn't have employees. I'm like, why would I ever going back to owning an actual physical business, even as much as I loved it? But that brings me up to bringing up what Shelly is saying right here. I'm learning that some online businesses, digital nomad might be worth it. Understand this, that you.
Why is that? I don't understand that. Why?
You do not have to have a digital nomad visa to do digital nomad work in Costa Rica. You don't have to. Okay. You've always been able to come to Costa Rica and legally work as a digital nomad. You did not have to have a digital nomad visa in order to do that. Costa Rica came up with a digital nomad visa just to make it convenient for you, hoping to attract people to come here. And with that digital nomad visa, they wouldn't have to stamp out every 90 days. It just made it attractive to attract these people to Costa Rica. So if you want to work online, you can, and you're not required to have a digital nomad visa in order to do it.
Well, I'm kind of interested in why she said that, actually.
Oh,
I don't know why would she say? I mean, maybe she can type her answer, but why?
yeah.
What would
Why
be
is
the
she
reasoning for that?
Yeah.
Is it
Not
because
sure.
the business maybe it looks better on the resume, something like that? Like,
What?
well, I'm an official digital nomad. I'm officially doing this thing in Costa Rica, and it makes it look more official, or like that kind of thing, maybe.
That's a good question. I have no idea. Maybe she'll put that in there. So she said, "Oh, well, she's saying right here, it's not for Costa Rica. It's for Pacific type companies." I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe
so I see what she's
Yeah.
saying. So they want to see it. They want to make sure I think you're legit, basically.
But hey, I think you and I have the same mindset as Doug right here. He's like, I'm hoping on working and getting off my lounger to walk to the fridge for another beer. That's self-employment.
Yeah, go Doug. Go Doug.
I'm just going to
Cheers.
fetch my beer. I agree, Doug.
I don't know. I don't want to give this kind of advice, but I think depending on what you're thinking, if you think you want to work or need to work in Costa Rica, there might be workarounds to kind of put the cart before the horse before you know, if Costa Rica is right for you. Why would you, I mean, just frustrate yourself by coming down here in week 1 and trying to start a business? So I would try to, whatever it was, I probably would try to work it as much as I could, cart before the horse, until I knew that, okay, this might be doable. I'm going to get my I'm going to make things go. And I could see it that way. But to go through all the hoops and misery that you would have to do and learn, you would literally learn everything the hard way. I don't care if you've been in Costa Rica coming and going for 10 years. Again, you haven't lived here and now you're running a restaurant or a bar or a freaking coffee shop. Are you kidding me? So I just wouldn't do any of that kind of stuff unless I either had a connection that was helping me.
Because let's talk about this for a second, because you're right on target there. And you were saying, and you've shared this story, there's a lot of these horror stories where people have come down here on vacation. They go to this Airbnb, and this guy that's got 5 or 6 of them, and they make this connection. He's like, man, I wish I could find me a manager that could run this for me. And then, oh, I'll do it. And it never fails. They get all excited. Yeah. And then I'll let you run it. And that person doesn't even know it's illegal to actually do it. They sell everything up, come over here. And then when they come over here, the guy's done changed his mind. Yeah, I know I said it, but
Well, I got a good story too, and it's a pretty horror story. I'll try to do it quick. I'm only telling this story because it happened a very long time ago. Gringos, married couple. We ended up really liking them. They became friends. They were roaming around Costa Rica, and when they got to Fortuna, seriously, they'd never been to Costa Rica before. Decided to buy it was a little pizza place right here in the center of Fortuna. He started it. He had a restaurant in the United States. It was a small place, and he goes, "Hey man, get all your gringo friends. Beers are cheap for you guys." And he was really nice to trying to get people in there, but he knew nothing about the Chico people. He was getting ripped off left and right by employees, and things weren't going good. And he had the place, I don't know if he made it a year. I got a video with him. There's a view, you can actually see who I'm talking about. He had the place burned down, dude. I know it for a fact. He got the insurance money and got the hell out of Costa Rica.
wow.
Because he was getting just stolen from left and right. He wasn't making any money, but obviously it's his own fault, but he got somebody, he left town and got somebody he got an electrical worker to rewire a few things, and he did get the insurance money, and he did get the hell out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like you said, there's a whole lot of people, and we say it all the time. I don't care how many times you come to Costa Rica to visiting, traveling, it is nowhere near the same. We've been very fortunate that we have lived all over Costa Rica. But you know what? If I only lived right here and I only traveled there for a week or two, that's not the same. I might as well just say I'm on vacation. You've got to live in these specific places a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, 6 months, and really get to understand the environment, the place, before ever making any permanent decision to change your life. And it's kind of like this guy saying right here, which hey, it's important to kind of bring this stuff out. Uncle Chico says, I'm a little bit concerned. The past few weeks I've been watching expat videos that are talking, or they're taking advantage of other expats who are thinking on moving to Costa Rica and thinking about buying or working in Costa Rica. That's one of the biggest reasons that I decided that I was going to start doing relocation retreats. And whenever I started thinking about doing relocation retreats, I said, this is too much work for one person. I said, you know what? I'm going to talk Michael Allen into joining me. I'm going to talk Sarah and Lena into joining me. And I'm going to get these experts to help me with this relocation retreat, because this is exactly what I saw happening, Uncle Chico. There's too many people out there that do relocation retreats or take advantage of other expats because they know you don't know any better. And I knew that, hey, if I do a relocation retreat, between me, Mike, and Sarah, we're going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and ain't nobody getting taken advantage of. So that kind of stuff really pisses me off when I see people take advantage of other people.
Well, I've been given the same advice. Generally, it doesn't apply to everybody. It just doesn't, because there's no one thing that applies to everybody. But my advice, the reason I don't like that what he's saying there, which is true, is I tell everybody, dude, you shouldn't be doing anything within the first 2 years. Nothing. You should buy nothing, start nothing, do homework, learn where you live and because you can't replicate the pizza place you had in the States and go, yeah, I ran a pizza place. It's no problem. I made a ton of money. I'm going to do it in Costa Rica. So I wouldn't, okay, maybe buy a car. Maybe. Now, there are exceptions to that. There are people that have been coming down here for 20 years. They've traveled all around. They have an understanding. They're saving their money. And yeah, that might work out for them. But the most people now, because, especially with the way the world is going right now, and a lot of people not liking the trajectory that their country is going, they're going, oh, Costa Rica, I'll just go live there. Because I've seen these things. Now, to what he's saying, oh, I saw these videos. I can go down here. I can buy a house. I've got connections already. Somebody's going to help me. I can maybe start a business because that person says it's not a problem and they can help me. And that's the problem. So that's why I always tell people, generally speaking, 90% of people shouldn't be doing shit, buying shit, nothing. In the first, I say at the relocation retreat, and we have people kind of showing you different real estate options, which is good because a lot of people want to do what they want to do, and maybe they have been down here. So we show them options. Hey, don't have to buy nothing. We're just showing you. Hey, we're showing you that Tico house so you know what it freaking looks like and how much it would be. But some people want to do what they want to do. So I don't know. I say at the relocation, and a lot of people, I don't know. I think 2 years might. You don't know. Why are you starting your residency the first week? Why you just got down here? You don't know. Do a couple board runs for God's sake. You got 180 days. Chill.
Why spend all this money to start your residency? You don't even know if you're going to be here, and so, yeah, Uncle Chico gets it. It's very important to get the right people to help you. The only reason, and I want to stress this, the only reason we show real estate options in Costa Rica is I have tons of people. You have tons of people. Hey, what is the average cost of a condo? What's the average cost of a Tico house? What is it? That's the reason we show you. Hey, look, this is a Tico house. This is what it normally looks like. And this is about what a usual Tico house might cost. Hey, this is what a condo in a condominium tower, this is what one's going to cost. Hey, it's just.
But it's not a timeshare presentation. We don't give a fuck. We're not trying to sell you shit. We're just trying to show you what the options are, so you can make your own decisions. Hey, honey, maybe we don't. Those houses seemed expensive. We should probably rent. We're just showing you options. We give information. We don't care. We're not selling you nothing. but we have to put it out there because a lot of people ask about it. So it is part of the relocation retreat for sure. Now, Michael brought up what we're kind of talking about. People come down here. I've seen this a million times. You're having fun on vacation. It's romanticized. You're drinking. You're probably having more sex than you had before. Everything is fun. You're roaming around. You're meeting cool people. And all of a sudden you meet a gringo at the bar and he lives there. And he's like, man, are you guys having fun? Yeah, hey, we are, man. We've been thinking about, we want to buy some property. Oh my gosh. Where are you from? Oh, hey, man. You know what? I can help. If you want to, I can help you out. Would you like to go see something? Let's go, man. That'll be fun. And that, so they try to strike while the iron's hot, where they're romanticizing, Costa Rica. And we all know, and everybody knows, if you traveled at all, vacationing in a place is not living in a place.
That's right.
But
you've
it
got
is hard
to get through that honeymoon phase, because that when you're vacationing in Costa Rica, man, it's like you said, it's a honeymoon. It's romantic. It's Mai Tais on the beach. It's sex on the beach. It's whatever you think and want to do. But after you live in Costa Rica and you've been here the first year, I mean, the worst thing in the world can happen, and it's like, yeah, but babe, we live in Costa Rica. You got to get through that honeymoon phase when you realize I am sick and tired of this crap. But you know what? If you go to that Costa Rican relocation retreat and you're equipped, we teach you everything so that if it does happen, you're prepared. You're like, you know what? Mike said this was going to happen, and here's some hacks. Here's how we can get around it. I mean, it's so true. Well,
how many people do we know? I mean, I've been here 18 years, and I've seen this. I don't know, 100 times. People start a business, buy a house, start their residency, and in 2.5 years, they're going, Michael, can you help me sell my house? Michael, do you have a lawyer to shut down my business? Michael, it's sad. And a lot of times it's, it could be their retirement. It's maybe they have made a lot of money and, whatever, but it's so sad to see them just rush in. Hey, Costa Rica is right for me. Me and my wife went there. We're there 2 weeks. We love it. We want to spend our life there, and we're going to invest in it. And they do it because they have the money. They buy the house, buy the business, get going. And lo and behold, it's overwhelming. And they did not know what they were getting into. And now they got to sell the house. They got to get rid of, sell the business and all that. And I've seen it, I don't know how many times. It's just, it's more, I think more people leave than come, or stay. I really believe that more people leave Costa Rica than stay in Costa Rica.
Absolutely. And, and the thing here is you don't want to make that mistake, because people say, oh, well, I'm just going to buy the house. If I don't like it, I'm going to sell it. Dude, buying a house is so much easier than selling it. It could take you could put that house on the market. It might be on the market a year if you're lucky, but it's probably going to be on the market 10 years, or it might not ever sell.
Yes, because you bought it probably for more than it's worth to begin with, because you didn't know what the hell you were doing, and what you could have got for $250, you paid $400 for. So try to sell that one for what you put into it. And that's what happens. That's why they can't get their money back. You're bringing up a very good point. They need that money to get back to wherever their home country is so they can start over again there. And now they can't sell
a lot. This happens a lot right here. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike.
Go ahead. Go.
But hey, Uncle Chico said, hey, stay away from Kevin J. Johnson. He's a fellow Canadian calling himself a Costa Rican relocation expert. He's only been in Costa Rica 8 weeks. And he's actually telling people about this crap happens all the time. People who come into Costa Rica don't know anything about Costa Rica, and then they're calling themselves an expert because you don't know any better. So, hey, look, you need to do your homework. I'm not saying trust me and Mike, because if you haven't done your homework to find out, that, hey, I've been here for 10 years. Mike's been here for 18 years. That dude is old as dirt when you compare how many people come to Costa Rica and stay here. Okay. So, yeah, you need to do your research. If you're not careful, you will get scammed. Hey, thank you.
I don't know. I'm not gonna be humble, because sometimes being humble doesn't pay off. I've been here 18 years doing travel stuff for like 15 of those 18. I do a lot of living here stuff. I have receipts. I can't remember anybody that's put Michael's a liar. Michael will rip you off. My face is everywhere. So if somebody had a bad experience with me, trust me, they'd go, man, don't trust that motherfucker because you can't. That's it, you know. So we have receipts. I mean, I have a length of time, and you don't see any videos out there going, hey man, that Michael, like what he's saying about this Kevin Johnson. You don't see that shit with me. People may not like me. I'm not saying everyone likes me, but I think most people would say, hey man, at least he tries to tell it like it is. And that's all I can do. You know, everything I say, I'm not, when I say I don't care if you move or live in Costa Rica, I don't fucking care. I don't care. I'm just trying to give you information so you can make a better decision and not get burnt out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's what I tell people all the time. I says, I make most of my money online. Okay. Take a look at my channel. What am I selling? I don't sell squat. Okay. Now, you know what? There's nothing wrong. Michael's got a channel. He sells travel packages. That's awesome. Okay. Maybe I should get into real estate or travel. Well, I don't, and I don't because I love sharing. I like being transparent. I love saying that dude screwed me. And I don't want you to get screwed, so let me share my experience so you can avoid that, okay? And so that's the reason I don't put out a video every stinking week. That's not my job, but I do love to share and help people, okay? And so there's nothing wrong with having that, but that's a quick way to look and see what's the ulterior motive, So the only thing I sell is information. Yeah, I would love for you to come to my retreat. It's the best thing in the world for you. However, if you don't, that is totally up to you. Do your due diligence.
Yeah, I have a little story about this people with relocation retreats. So I did an interview, I would say maybe 2 years ago with this couple. Very nice. The video did very well. They were very articulate. They've traveled. They've been around. Lo and behold, 6 months later, and they were up front. I mean, I'm not saying they're scammers at all. I'm not even hinting at that. But what they did, they started doing helping you, kind of doing what Sarah does. We'll help you relocate. We'll handhold you. Now, they were doing it in, I think, 2 other countries as well, doing relocation for people. Then they started a YouTube channel and started interviewing people and going, the mistakes that somebody made, like let's say renting a house and got gringo price. And then kind of at the end of the video, it's kind of like, well, if I would have used you guys, I wouldn't have been ripped off. That's kind of their angle. And I was like, how in the hell can you do relocation when you've been here a few months? It makes absolutely no sense. And if they're good people, though, they're good people, they're entrepreneurs. And again, I'm not saying scam. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying informationally, there's just some things you just couldn't know. You can't know unless you've been here and lived here.
Yeah, you don't have the experience, but you have to understand that people come down here and they're trying to figure out a way to make money. And they're like, you know what? I moved down here by myself. I think I'll help other people move down here. And they do not have the experience. So, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of people, someone mentioned it earlier, and we talked about this past just real quick. We're seeing more and more bad people. Used to, whenever I'd go down to the border down at Paso Canoas, it was always Ticos that was trying to rip me off. Well, I went down there about a year ago during the pandemic, and there was this couple of gringos that was trying to do the exact same thing as the Ticos. You got more and more bad people in this world, and some people, they could care less whether they're trying to rip you off or not. So yes, you do got to be careful, and you got to be more and more careful these days. There's lots of people that they got no qualms, no morals, and it's a game to them. Look who I ripped off today.
I know, but you know what? I'm as I've gotten older, I got to tell you, man, it's somebody that's been ripped off many times, I'll say. Mostly my fault. Mostly my fault. I didn't do my checks. I didn't do my checks and balances. That's my whole story coming here. We got totally ripped off. And I got to say, as much as, because I really believe that the guy that ripped us off, in his mind, he was going, we are doing a business transaction. I'm better at business than you. You obviously didn't do your homework, and you let me do what I did to you. I win. I don't even think they think about, they might say to a friend, oh yeah, I did really good with the business deal with Michael, but I don't think they even say the word really rip off. They're kind of thinking Michael didn't do his due diligence, and I gave him this number. He gave it to me. He gave it to me. So I'm better in business, or I'm better at whatever it is than he was. And technically, totally right. As much as I don't like him, and he was deceptive, deceitful, and not really a good person morally that way, but technically speaking, it was my fault. It totally was my fault.
Hey, I'm real big on accepting responsibilities, and I can say almost every single time I've been ripped off, it was my fault. I mean, I lost thinking $19,000 because I bought all of this solar equipment from a guy, okay, who was a gringo, okay, and and so I was moving out here. Well, the owner changed his mind about me coming out here, and so I went back, and the guy says, okay, do you want to come pick up this stuff, or you want me to hold on to it? I said, well, if it's not in your way, you hold on to it. He held on to it. Well, guess what? He eventually left, and the guy disappeared. He sold all my equipment, $19,000 of stuff. Guess what? I should have went and picked up all of my stuff that I'd paid for, and I wouldn't have lost that.
Yeah, yeah. You can't change unless you take responsibility for your actions. It's too easy to. I could be still telling the story 18 years later. This guy would rip me off. He's a bad man. He screwed up my whole life. It's his fault. It's his fault I'm like this. It's his fault.
Yeah.
You can be a victim. I have to. Now that's true in a sense that he's not that great of a person, but I have to take 85% of the responsibility that I made some serious messed up decisions because I thought we were friends. I thought we were friends. We had a history. This wasn't I just met him in San Jose. This was 2 years before I even came here, a year or whatever it was. But again, I've trusted everything he said. Why would I ask somebody I don't know when I have a friend to ask the question to? And when he says, I don't know, I was a handshake guy back then, Alan. I was like, oh yes.
I did too.
And I was dumb. I was totally dumb.
I agree. So it's really, and I don't know how we got into all of these, these scams. But we were talking about working in Costa Rica, but it's part of it. Working in Costa Rica, you can get
it's
scammed.
Definitely part of it. It's definitely part of it.
You can, if you're not careful. So you do got to be careful. And I do want to remind you, because we are closing in on the hour, and Rebecca and I will have live Q&A right after this podcast. Okay. So, hey, just go to my channel and you'll be able to see the live Q&A, and we'll answer more questions. Hey, we try to focus in on working in Costa Rica, but hey, I don't care what you ask. We'll answer those questions, and we'll just have fun as we update you on what's been happening in the off-grid homestead.
All right, guys. As usual, we love that you guys stay with us and hang out with us and leave your great comments and your good insight and perspective. Alan, next week, dude, Sunday, we're going to be doing this podcast from the relocation retreat live. Yes,
live from Estorrillos at Sunset Del Mar.
And just for you guys listening now, we won't just be going relocation retreat. So it's not going to be about that, but we will be there. And we will be broadcasting from there. So anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out. Alan, I'm going to see you in about 6-7 days.
It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Thanks, man. If you guys have questions, Alan's going to hang out. So be there or be square. See you later.
Right, at 10:30. So go to my channel, find that one, 10:30. We're going to go live.